Most people are not poor because they are lazy. They are not poor because they are unlucky. And they are not poor because the system is entirely against them, though the system does not make it easy. Most people are poor, or staying poor, because of 6 specific patterns that operate quietly in the background of every financial decision they make. And the most dangerous part is that none of these patterns feel like problems while they are happening. They feel completely normal. They feel like just living life. This is the video that changes that. Number 1, you are spending money to feel better. This is the most common and least discussed driver of financial stagnation. Money has become the primary tool that most people use to regulate uncomfortable emotional states. Stressed after work, order delivery. Bored on a Tuesday, open an app and buy something. Anxious about the future, spend on something that creates a feeling of control in the present. Lonely, go somewhere that costs money to feel connected. None of these decisions feel like financial mistakes. They feel like coping. And that is exactly why they are so expensive, because coping is not occasional. Coping is daily. And daily emotional spending, even in small amounts, creates a permanent drain that no income increase can fix, because the spending scales with the stress, and the stress scales with the financial pressure, and the financial pressure scales with the spending. It is a loop, and the exit is not discipline. The exit is awareness. The moment you can identify that you are spending emotionally, rather than intentionally, is the moment the loop can be interrupted. Number 2, you think in monthly costs instead of total costs. This is the mechanism that the entire consumer economy is built on. A subscription for $12 a month does not feel like $144 a year. A car payment of $400 a month does not feel like $24,000 over 5 years. A slightly upgraded apartment for $200 more per month does not feel like $2,400 a year that could have been invested. Monthly framing is specifically designed to make large numbers feel small. And it works, not because people are not smart enough to do the math, but because the monthly frame is always presented first, loudest, and most repeatedly. The total cost requires effort to calculate. The monthly cost requires nothing, and the brain defaults to whatever requires less effort. Start calculating in totals. Every time you see a monthly price, multiply it by 12, then by 5. Let the real number exist in your mind before you decide. This single habit shift will change more spending decisions than any budget ever could. Number 3, you are upgrading your lifestyle faster than your wealth. Every time your income increases, your lifestyle should stay exactly where it is, at least for a period long enough for the income increase to produce a visible improvement in your financial position. This almost never happens, because lifestyle upgrades feel earned. They feel like the natural reward for having worked harder and achieved more. And they are, but the timing of the reward is what determines whether you build wealth or simply live better while your net worth stays flat. The pattern looks like this. Raise arrives, new apartment, better car, nicer restaurants, slightly higher everything across every category. The raise is absorbed completely within 3 months. The new baseline feels normal, and the next raise will be absorbed in exactly the same way unless the structure changes. The 5% who consistently build wealth are not people who never upgrade their lifestyle. They are people who delay the upgrade long enough to redirect a meaningful portion of every income increase into assets before the lifestyle has a chance to consume it. Number 4, you have no financial buffer and it is costing you constantly. Living without an emergency fund is one of the most expensive financial states that exists, and it is almost never described that way. When an unexpected expense arrives and no buffer exists, the response is almost always debt. A credit card, a loan, a payment plan. Each of these solutions carries interest, and interest is money paid for the privilege of having been unprepared. Over a decade, the total cost of chronic unpreparedness, the interest paid, the penalties incurred, the high-cost short-term solutions used repeatedly, can exceed the cost of building a proper emergency fund several times over. The buffer does not just provide security. It eliminates an entire category of expense that most people do not even recognize they are paying. 3 months of essential expenses sitting in a separate account is not money doing nothing. It is money working as insurance, eliminating debt costs, and protecting every other financial system you are trying to build. Number 5, you are waiting for a big moment that is never coming. There is a version of financial change that most people are unconsciously waiting for. A moment where the circumstances align perfectly. The right income level, the right life situation, the right level of clarity and motivation. And then, finally, the real financial work begins. This moment is not coming, not because it is impossible to reach, but because the conditions that feel necessary to start are actually the conditions that are produced by starting. Clarity comes from action, not before it. Motivation follows progress, not the other way around. The person who starts saving $50 a month on an uncomfortable income will understand money better in 6 months than the person who spent those 6 months waiting to earn enough to save properly. The mechanism requires use to become visible. And the longer the wait, the more time is removed from the one input into compound growth that cannot be replaced. Number 6, you are educated about money, but you are not doing anything with it. This is the most uncomfortable point on the list because it applies to people who are actively trying. People who read the articles, watch the videos, understand the concepts, know what they should be doing, and still are not seeing their financial situation change. The gap between financial knowledge and financial behavior is one of the most well-documented phenomena in behavioral economics. Knowing that you should save is not the same neurological event as saving. Knowing that compound interest works is not the same as having an account that is compounding. Information without implementation is entertainment. And there is a specific danger in financial content consumption. It can create the feeling of progress without the reality of it. Watching a video about building wealth can produce a mild sense of having done something productive about your finances, which slightly reduces the urgency to actually do something productive about your finances. The fix is not more information. The fix is a smaller, more immediate action taken before the feeling of having learned something fades. Not a plan, not a goal. One specific action. Open the account. Set the transfer. Cancel the subscription. Do one thing today that your future financial situation will be able to point to as the moment something actually changed. These 6 things are not character flaws. They are patterns, predictable, understandable, and most importantly, reversible. But only if you can see them clearly enough to interrupt them. Now you can.